Yep, sorry to do this to you guys, but it's a Laci Green video, so let's just crack on and get through it.
Oh hey babes, Laci here. It is a sweaty LA night.
I can't help get the feeling that the night would be less sweaty if you weren't so heavy.
The perfect time to talk about trigger warnings.
Oh, okay, yeah. Perfect time to talk about trigger warnings.
There's been a bunch of, verbal vomit about trigger warnings the past year or so.
Yes, there has. Quite a lot of it from you, I recall.
Most recently, the University of Chicago released this letter to incoming freshmen. They said, quote, "Our commitment to academic freedom means we don't support so-called trigger warnings."
Any parents watching this, please enroll your children there. I don't care how much you want them wiping table in artsy ways with the knowledge of their liberal arts degrees while believing that they're being paid less than their male co-workers. Get them real schools and get real jobs.
We don't cancel invited speakers because their topics might prove controversial.
Oh, you mean like how Milo Yiannopoulos has been rejected from many universities?
Stop it!
Oh no! Oh, we should film it. Oh no!
Just to remind everybody, this was a thing that actually happened.
And we don't condone the creation of intellectual safe spaces where individuals can retreat from ideas and perspectives at odds with their own.
I completely agree with this letter. Universities should be forums for learning, knowledge, debate, the exchange of ideas. Not simply a daycare centre where hypersensitive crybaby morons can hide from those ideas.
The problem with this statement is the same problem with a lot of critiques of trigger warnings on the internet, and that's not what a trigger warning is. It is not a retreat from ideas and perspectives.
No, Laci. That's not what trigger warnings are. That's what safe spaces are. Keep up. You literally just read it. And in real life, real work isn't going to have safe spaces and trigger warnings. You want to sit there and cry in a safe space on company time? Good luck with that.
If it is actually being used in that way, then the trigger warning is being misused.
Well, even if this did start with the best of intentions, trigger warnings will always be misused because of pandering retards like you that certain manipulative types can walk all over and have you defend them. Life doesn't have trigger warnings. You'll see things that upset you. It's inevitable. You hide away from it until you're 20 and then see it, you'll fall to pieces. Get the fuck used to it now and acclimate to a world that's not perfect.
I first became aware of trigger warnings when I was in college, but it was not in class, it was during an internship. I was working with domestic abuse survivors at a state agency.
Let me guess, domestic abuse for women. You'll be hard pressed to find domestic abuse shelters for men. Male domestic abuse help is damn near impossible when you have people like Katie writing an article about how men's domestic violence shelters are a misuse of non-profit funding.
Trigger warnings exist to give someone a little bit of a buffer before confronting them with information, graphics, whatever that may be deeply painful and upsetting.
Oh, you mean like the motion picture content rating system in America and the British Board for Film Classification? The organisations which sift through all films and give them age restrictions, as well as warnings like, this could contain scenes of a sexual nature. You know, that kind of thing. No, surely you know better with your little trigger warnings.
They are specifically used in populations which may be experiencing higher levels of trauma to help them cope, compartmentalize, and keep moving forward.
Yeah, nothing says moving forward to me like shutting out pretty much everything mildly controversial. So, when they re-enter the real world and see it all around them, they'll just fall to pieces. I don't doubt that your heart might be in the right place, but I don't really think you've got the kind of brain to pull this off. Now, I know you've gone to university and you've got yourself a bachelor's degree, but none of that is in psychology, which makes me wonder why you think you have the right to make these decisions for people who actually suffer.
Now, I think where things got a little bit more complex and thus more controversial is when they were translated for usage in the blogosphere. Now you have online communities that want very specific trigger warnings, people talking about very specific things. I don't think it's up to me to say, oh, people overuse trigger warnings.
No, trust me. They overuse trigger warnings. And on a side note, I really hate the way you say controversial. Blogosphere may have popularized trigger warnings, but it wasn't just that made it a bad idea. It was a bad idea to begin with that simply became popularized.
Or whatever. But I do think the demand for really specific trigger warnings in very general settings has been used to undermine the legitimacy and value of trigger warnings as a whole.
Yeah, that's like saying there's a whole bunch of fake pennies coming into circulation, devaluing the penny. It was still pretty worthless to begin with.
Another observation worth noting is that trigger warnings are part of a broader ideology where people's experiences and people's needs are taken into account. It's more of a nurturing culture.
Yeah, if you ask me, this culture is far, far too nurtured. We all have our hardships. God knows I've had more than my fair share. You get on with it. If you spend your entire life being mollycoddled and then someone you care about dies, is your safe space going to help you then? Is there a trigger warning for that? No, you're going to fall to pieces because you've never had to experience real hardship in your entire life and it's going to hit you like a fucking bus. You might think you're doing these people a favour, and in the short term, maybe you are. But in the big picture, you're setting them up to fail because life will bite them in the arse when they least expect it.
Trigger warnings and the culture that surrounds them runs directly contradictory to hyper-masculinity, where everyone's tough and we make fun of people who are weak little pussy crybabies.
Real men should be real men, and if people get their feelings hurt by being called pussy crybabies, then they're pussy crybabies.
The backlash to trigger warnings isn't necessarily sexist, but I think that it is fueled by sexism.
Oh, you just had to work sexism in there somewhere, didn't you? Does anybody else get the feeling that Laci Green might lighten the fuck up if she gets a really good seeing to? Someone else can do it, I'm not touching that. That level of stupidity has to be contagious.
Okay, I'm almost done with my very tired rant. I'm going to end on what I actually agree with the Dean on, and that's that controversial speakers, short of hate speech, should not be banned from speaking at universities.
And who decides what constitutes hate speech? Where exactly would you draw the line? Would you prevent a World War II veteran from telling people what the Nazis did and how we should all hate them? Or is it simply speech that disagrees with the narrative that you're attempting to push? I'll cut a video off here because I'm pretty sure I'm developing ear tumours. Now, was it my imagination or did this video seem like some form of SJW damage control in an attempt to get more gullible idiots to rally to their flag? Because I got that vibe. So, lovely viewers, if you had the option, what trigger warnings would you apply to my channel? I'll put the answers that make me laugh the most at the end of my next video, and as always, thank you for your time.